Hello and welcome to Steve's Retro Loft. Today, as the title probably tells you, it's not a Spectrum video. I know, shock horror. It's not all Sinclair Spectrums. Both my regular viewers have probably have noticed that. Anyway, it's today I'm going to take a look at the Nintendo Super Famicom. There's more of it than that, obviously. I just didn't want to pick up the whole thing. Let's have a look and have a quick talk about what it is. So what is the Super Famicom? Well, it's actually more commonly known as the SNES in Europe and in America. It was released in 1990 in Japan and 1991 in the US. A little bit later on, I think 1992, it came out in Europe and other territories. The Super Famicom was a technological leap forward from Nintendo's previous console, the Famicom, or the NES as it was known in the West. Now, the hardware, it's unusual actually. The hardware for the European market and Japanese model looks the same. The Americans got a more sort of squared off angular version, which is a bit odd. But I went for the Japanese version because mainly because I wanted to play some Japanese import games. Yeah, it's typical of Nintendo of the time, and probably most other game companies at the time. There was a lockout design. Obviously, cartridges for the US market and the Japan and European market were different shapes. Obviously, European and Japan had the same shape console, so the same shape cartridge, but the cartridges weren't interchangeable. They had a lockout chip. And there was ways of circumventing this, as you can see on screen now. There's a doubler cartridge where you put the import cartridge in the front and the cartridge with the lockout chip you want to unlock the system for in the back. It worked quite well. I'm not aware of any devices it didn't work with. It might not have worked so well with the Super FX chips and maybe some of the other games, but yeah, it's a bit frustrating, but there you go. That was the way they did things. Yeah, it stopped some people playing games. The US console, because it was a different shape, you could actually fit the Japanese and European cartridges inside. Obviously, the European cartridges wouldn't work at all. For the Japanese cartridges worked, but there was a couple of tabs I believe you needed to break off inside the console because there was a few notches in the cartridges, which meant they wouldn't have fitted otherwise. But other than that, it was quite easy to convert a US machine to play Japanese games. Now, myself, like most of my friends, we wanted the Japanese model. It was probably because it was out first, and titles like Street Fighter would have come out quicker in the Japanese territory than anything else. So, under the hood, it packed a 16-bit CPU, and graphics capabilities allowed much more detailed and complex games compared to the 8-bit Famicom or the NES. The controller was also redesigned, and it's probably, looking back, it's probably my favourite controller ever. I mean, I know things like the PlayStation and the Xbox controllers were more advanced, but this was so comfortable and you could play so many games. Okay, it didn't have analog controls, but at the time we didn't particularly need them. The Famicom, or the Super Famicom, had exclusives as Nintendo, so obviously your games like Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda, and a lot of the ongoing sort of IP that you've always had with Nintendo. Things like Super Metroid came out a little bit later. So why did I buy an import model, and specifically why did I buy a Japanese one? I've alluded to that there was a lot more games on the Japanese market which weren't always readily available in the PAL market, and sometimes not in the US. And also, certainly, one thing that the US and the Japanese version had over the PAL was the lack of borders. It ran at 60 hertz, so the games ran a little bit faster. And also, there was it was horrible. The European version was just awful to look at in terms of the graphics on the screen. Just borders, they just drives me mad now thinking about it, how bad it was. I initially did have a UK SNES, and I believe I must have sold it a good few months after owning it because it just didn't seem right. Little games like Street Fighter 2, go back to that, it was bordered and it just looked flat. I mean, it just... I mean, you know what it's like when you went from a 4:3 television to a widescreen and nothing looked right if it was in the wrong mode. It was just that. It just looked terrible. So what game am I going to demonstrate it with? Well, might be a bit of a surprise because, as I said, I don't speak or read Japanese, and it's a game that it doesn't really show the power of the console, but it just shows how beautiful a game could look. Now, it is frustrating. The game is Seiken Densetsu 2. It's a game I can't play, really, because it is Japanese, but it did come out as The Secret of Mana. I did own The Secret of Mana, the American cartridge, and then in my haste to sort of get ready to buy a house, yeah, I started to sell a few things off. Like I sold all my old Spectrum collections off, which was a mistake. Yeah, sold so many games for next to nothing. Seiken Densetsu, I think I got about 40 quid for it. Yeah, which is a good price, I guess. But yeah, it's one of those ones that got away. I won't dwell on it too much. But I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the US version, and I remember how graphically great it looked. And as I said, it's not a Super FX chip game. It's not like Star Fox, it doesn't have vector graphics or anything. It's just an RPG, very very reminiscent of Zelda. But I think it just looks a bit better than Zelda. It's just be nice if maybe I'll get a US version again at some point. Be nice to actually play it, but it'd be also nice to have the time to play it. So let's have a look at it and see what you think. I did say it was a Japanese-based game, and this is the only bit of English text in it. Once you get into the game, as I'll show you, that's what you're faced with. So go for a new game. I have no idea what this is, or how to get around it. Maybe someone who could speak Japanese could help me out. Last time I tried it took me ages to start it. Hopefully I've not typed something offensive. Oh, good. I think I've started it. I'm sure a lot of the information critical to completing the game or playing the game is in the Japanese text. Yay! There you go. So if I remember right, the first part of the game is you end up trying to find a sword, and then you can start chopping things. But as I said, as the graphics are, they do look a little bit dated these days. But at the time, this was quite a spectacular looking game. There's a sword. How do I get to the sword? And once you've got the sword, things start to appear in the game, which need chopping down and killing. So, yeah. There you go, that's the sword. I can now do the gardening. Is it dead? Okay. So you get the idea. It's a basic RPG. You go around chopping and hacking and picking things up, and I think there's a little village here soon. Oops. So I'll just depart that. Ooh, chest. Now, I didn't say I was very good at the game. Obviously, it's been a long time since I actually played it properly. There you go, you go into a village and it's music changes, a little more peaceful. As I said, it was going to be a quick look at the game, just to show off what the game was. And I say it's not the most graphical advancement in games, but it was quite a good little game. I enjoyed it. It's just pity I haven't got the English language version. Yeah, I should learn to read Japanese scripts, but it's I'm in my 50s now. I don't think I've got the time to do it. But there you go. That was a quick look at A Secret of Mana. Sorry, Seiken Densetsu 2. So there we go, and in conclusion, that was the Super Famicom. It's a device that probably left an indelible mark on sort of games for a number of us. Obviously, I know it competed with the Sega Mega Drive at the time, and you're either a Sega fan or you're a Nintendo fan. It's a bit like the Spectrum and Commodore 64, the ST and Amiga, those sort of arguments. You know, to be fair, I was working at the time. I probably could have afforded both, although the import games were £50-60. Yeah, back in the early 90s, that was a fair amount of money. It's an average sort of Xbox download sort of price these days. But yeah, as I said, for me, it left an indelible mark, and it was a device that I always loved. And many things I've sold off and moved on in over the years. I've kept the NES. Actually, the Super Famicom. Sorry, I do own two of them. My original one is actually boxed, and obviously this one is a little bit yellowed. It's one I bought on eBay going back a few years. Seiken Densetsu, I had a look at my emails, and I think I paid £8 for it about 20 years ago. So yeah, at the time it was a bargain. I think you can still get bargains in Super Famicom and SNES. I mean, there's some box mint condition games which is just silly prices, but on the whole, they're really not. They don't appear to be too bad. If you want to build up a collection of average titles, if you don't care so much about boxes, then knock yourself out. There's quite a lot of them out there for reasonable prices. Hopefully it won't go mad after doing the video. Yeah, both the people that are watching it might send the prices sky high. Anyway, enough of my waffling on. Thanks for joining us on this some different video. I may be back to Spectrums next week, but this won't be the last you see of the Super Famicom. I plan to sort of go through some of the more specialised games, something like the Super FX games, and maybe some things like the Donkey Kong games. I can't remember if they use Super FX or another chip, but it'd be nice to just go through and just see the comparisons of different games and different genres. And there's a few football games that I want to look at as well. I still haven't got over J-League 94, J-League Excite Stage 94. It wasn't the best football game ever, but it was just addictive, and you could score some ridiculous dirty goals from halfway line in the last 5 minutes of a game. It happened to me, against me, yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.